How long were you fasting for? As in, how long were you fasting for? How long?
I've done 3, 4 days. I did 5 days once, and then I'll do. I don't know. Whenever I kind of feel like it, I'll do a 24-hour fast. Often,
Yeah.
maybe once a week.
So it's so important that, yeah, at least what, like, at least once a month, at least minimally.
At least 24 hours, 36 hours to get autophagy going once every month. And
Yeah.
you do have to work at it. It definitely takes discipline, but the way you feel, it is so worth it. It's so
So it's
worth
just like
it.
free steroids. Do you know what I mean? It's universal. It's like UBI for the body. Like, it's like anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. It costs nothing, and it supercharges your whole life. But no one does it. It's mad.
Yeah, it's not part of the
And
culture
food,
that much.
say again.
It's not part of the culture that much. And, you read about it in all those scriptures.
Yeah.
Fasting is like you're supposed to do it. Yeah.
Bro, eating is one of the biggest psyops. It actually is. Eating is such a tool against us.
Yeah. So has fasting been a big part of your recovery, your change that
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I was you know, what's interesting is that I was thinking about this the other day. The longest fast I probably did was accidental, and it's because I was so miserable. I used to literally sit in my room when I was at the lowest of lows and just be like, I don't even deserve to eat, and I just wouldn't eat for like 3, 4 days. And doing it now with like a good intention, it's helping so much. It's helping so much because like what I do, I'll go for like 3, 4 days without eating. But this time I'm doing it from choice, from a place of empowerment, and then leaning into that. And oh my God, it's well, you hit new PBs, punch harder, move better, move faster, like more focus, less fatigue, sharper. It's crazy. It's insane. It's the truth.
Yeah, all that energy that goes into digestion now you can use it as mental energy, physical energy, and training.
Yeah. And what is it as well? I think where most people have gut issues, right? Like basically everyone will have some form of leaky gut, candida issue, or microbiome imbalance. And it's like the first port of call is just the reset. It's just empty everything as much as you can, clear out everything as much as you can, and then eliminate from there. Like only introduce. You know what I mean? Like tactically start bringing stuff back. That's how you get a good picture of what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating. But it all starts from fasting. I promise, like even as we're talking about it now, it's so obvious. Fasting is it's like the great reset for your body,
It's
and your mind, and
catching
your
on.
spirit.
Yep. And what I like what you said is the mindset you have while you do it. Because if it's channeled in an appropriate way, it gives you a lot of energy. I've done fasting before, and the longest one I've done was 7 days. And it was done while I was extreme religious. I was part of a religious group. So it was done with that mindset. So I could see how while doing that, I was, reading scriptures, doing with that type of set. And I can see how it was implanting certain ideas in my head while doing that fasting. But I agree with you that if you do it with a purpose, your own, right, with your own goals, your own mindset, it does help. It does recharge you in a different way.
Because you have to. It develops your creed and your why and your fuel beyond tangible fuel. Like the most powerful fuel we've got is intangible. Like just eating, and it only lasts as long as you've got it in your body. But if you've got like an intangible fuel that you just absorb and just that spiritual rocket fuel, but nothing can stop you. But you can only develop that when you're empty. Like when you force yourself to develop it. Because if you're like when you're the hungriest, when you're the most hurt, when you're the most fatigued, and you want nothing more than just to lean into that comfort, that dopamine spike of simple sugars or just anything that tastes good, you have to go somewhere where you haven't gone before that will force you to go through that. So fasting is just such an easy way to develop your why. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. How did you develop that mindset? Or where was the tipping point for you where that became a reality?
Bro, you know what? I was talking to my very good friend, Brandon Escobar, shout out, who's an Olympian. And we were talking about how we've had it since like the earliest days, since being a toddler, because of certain things that happened to us that weren't that pleasant. And I think when your earliest memories, your earliest somatic conditioning and programming is one of discomfort and trauma, you're constantly looking for for stuff to there's two ways of framing this, right? One is positive and one is negative. So you're looking for stuff to justify why you feel that way. So you actually seek pain. It's like kind of masochistic. And then two is you're trying to beat it. You're trying to run away from it. So you're trying to overcome it. So it's like a survival mechanism. It's a justification and it's a survival mechanism to overcome at the same time. And yeah, so to answer you, where did it come from? I think just from early life, like feeling like discomfort for whatever reasons because of external circumstances. I can tell you what they are if you want, but like it forces you to look for the harder route always. That's something I've always naturally done, like possibly to my detriment, but it has made me strong as fuck. Like it's made me unstoppable. Like in a fight, you literally have to kill me to stop me. I want. So I mean, it makes you very tough. So that's the turning point was probably when I was like 5 years old.
Well, why not? Let's go into it. I mean, if we're gonna do this podcast, let's open can of worms, Sam.
Yeah, let's go. Jack in the box.
But you've had an amazing recovery. You hit rock bottom. You know, we checked you out on IG, and the reason that we know of Sam is because I seen him a couple times on IG, and I was like, who is this guy? You know, and I could tell you were spitting some good wisdom about martial arts and mindset. And then I saw you were training with a bunch of people that I know and respect in Thailand, like friends of mine, and they were all saying, no, this guy's legit, great coach, great teacher, great mindset. And so that's why we ended up doing this, you know. And then I also saw you're really raw. You're opening up and telling how you hit rock bottom. You had, you know, a lot of shit. It sounds like happened. You've been very upfront about it on social media recently too, talking about how you turned it around. And now, you know, you seem like you're sharp as can be and in really maybe some of the best shape that you've been in a long time. So yeah, I would
100%.
love to hear that story, man. Like, let's start at 5. You know. What happened?
Yeah, so
you know, to
can I? Yeah, I'll start this. Can I just quickly say something there to caveat that? The reason I put that, I just exposed everything as much as I can and was open as much as I can because it removes shame, guilt, and fear. And like those are the killers there. Like those are literally the killers. Those are the things that will kill everyone. They're the lowest states. So if you just say it and you just speak it and you're not ashamed about it, then there's nothing to hold you back. So that's just a quick little bit of advice I tell fucking everyone. Just whether it's publicly on socials, whether it's just to your friend, whether it's to yourself, record it in your room, go hire a therapist, talk to whoever you need to, just get it out of you. Just don't be ashamed of it. Just say it out and get used to hearing it and normalize it and go, oh, not only then can you start reframing it to a positive, but if you're ashamed, it's not, if it's all inside you and you don't say it, then that's shame, that's guilt, that's fear. That's what's I can swear, can't I, right? I'm assuming.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's what's gonna fuck you up, cuz, you get me? So get it out. But yeah, to answer you, when I was 5, well, all right, look, so I'm biracial, right? Half Pakistani, Indian, Iraqi, like this mix from the subcontinent, and then half English. The first half of my life, I was like very much raised in like Islamic circumstances, like Indian, Pakistani, Iraqi, that kind of thing, very Arabic culture, and during that time, yeah, when I was 5, I had to go on to like these swimming classes. I didn't want to do it basically. And some caretaker is a little bit explicit. So if no one wants to hear this, because it fucks them up, don't listen to it. But basically just got forcibly undressed and like kind of, yeah, like played with, like not very nicely by these female caretakers, like these female, swim instructors or whatever, fucking daycare worker type stuff. And it happened a few times when I was going to these classes. So that was the first experience that I had that put me in fight or flight, obviously. And then after that, like immediately after it, was the first time I felt this feeling of like, I don't deserve to live. I shouldn't exist, basically. I was like 5 years old. You can't explain it when you're that age. You don't know what the concept of suicide is or anything like that. It was just a feeling, like a nervous system, like a vagus nerve activation of like, you shouldn't be here. Like just don't be here type thing. And it just never really went from like that age for the longest time until quite recently. And then combined with that was it was like this really, really intense separation between like brown, Pakistani, Indian, Muslim culture and then white culture. And it just got split overnight. I moved from this where I felt quite peaceful and at home in this Muslim upbringing, and just overnight like moved to this town in the south coast of England, which is very similar to, like Portland, Oregon in the US. basically a carbon copy of that. It's where the Pride Festival started. It's where like fucking like where they first dropped AIDS, like AIDS became popular there, like where they like fully just like it's like the genesis of the downfall of the West. It's like it all started here.
What's the
We're
name of that? What's the
OGs
name of that
trap.
town?
It's called Brighton.
Branton?
It's called Brighton.
Brighton.
Yeah, I don't even like speaking it. I don't even like letting people know.
So
You know what I mean? It's like
some town,
Satan's
somewhere,
fake.
who cares?
Yeah. Right, no, because I'll tell you, here's a funny little anecdote from that. You know Tom Breeze in UFC? I don't know if he still fights, but he was a middleweight, and damn, this has been like 2015 actually. So going back, yeah. But I was at Henzo Gracie's anyway with there was Eddie Cummins there was Gary Tone and Gordon and all these guys, and Tom Breeze was training. And everyone was like, yo, like you train hard, where are you from? And this is this is like before I fully switched on and realized that it actually matters the fuck where you're from, like your creed and your purpose. You really need to know where the fuck you're coming from to get to where you got to get to. You need to know where your point A is so that you can get to your point B. My point A was non-existent. I didn't have one. So I just mindlessly said, oh, I'm from Brighton. And Tom Breeze was like, he's from Middlesbrough. He's just like, he was like, what does that mean you're gay, bro? Or something like that. In front of everyone. I was like, isn't that what all the batty man?
Oh, I
was
see.
like,
yeah, now we we get what Brighton brings up.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? In the middle of New York in front of like all these guys, and it's so that's what I don't really say anymore. But it's it's not.
Well,
good.
we can't say much. We're from San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that's where. But it's important. That's what taught me a lot about environment, you know, and just being in the right. It's so crucial just to leave. Just get the fuck out. Just leave. Just go. You can. Your environment should not define you. You should define your environment. It sounds so obvious. But
one of the main things, right?
Yeah. So in my philosophy, I have two nutritions. One is the nutrition of food, and one is the nutrition of attention. And as part of attention, this is the intangible. Your environment is what's feeding you every moment of the day. If that's no good, and you've just got propaganda telling you to just do things that you don't agree with, be a certain way you don't agree with, why would you do that? That's like walking around with a camel pack on, just drinking fucking Coca-Cola all day if you're trying to avoid sugar. Do you get what I'm saying? It's pointless. You wouldn't let someone force feed you food you don't want to eat. So why are you force feeding vibrations and information and stuff like that and concepts and sociological concepts? You get what I mean?
You curate the information that you're receiving, you know? You got to say no to a lot of things, right?
Say that again.
It's actively saying no to things. You know, leaving an environment, leaving a relationship, leaving a friend, you know, that isn't serving your best purpose.
100, yeah, fuck yeah. And then when you really evaluate that and you go, hold on a minute, these one or two people that I thought were the problem, it's the whole fucking thing that's a problem. Let me just go really build. Well, you should be able to do what the fuck you want in the world. Why are people tolerating environments that are no good for them? Like, oh, well, when I get my promotion, I'll leave, or in 5 years, just fucking do it now. I mean, just do it. Just start living with people that you want and in a way that you want. And it's as simple as that. It's acute pain of separation because you're going to get people trying to hold you back, loved ones and shit, saying like, you're a bad person, you're leaving us and shit, even if it's killing you. So just go through that pain, go, no, I got to do it for me. Shut up, don't talk to them, lead with action, get some results, start winning, and then what can they tell you? Do you know what I mean? No one can tell you anything when you're winning. So it's literally as simple as that.
Yeah, and it's also the practice of doing it over and over and over again that makes it easy to move on to the next step. Because the longer you stay in whatever situation you're at, the harder it is to step away from it.
Yeah, you become emotionally more invested. So better to early identify when it's time to say no, time to move on, and save yourself the trouble. Move on to the good.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And also, that's not an excuse for people that, like, I'm trying to give people advice as they're listening. Like, that's also not an excuse to not do it. Even if you fucking spent 30 years wasting your life, doesn't mean you can't start right now. The next 12 months could literally be make up for the last 30 years. It's as simple as that. I'm realizing that right now. I just turned 30 and I'm like, oh my God, it's just beginning now. This is sick. I'm so present, so dialed in. I'm like, who the fuck cares about all of that? It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Until recently, I would always be morosely reflecting and just meditating in ways I didn't even want to on shit that's happened and like, what a shame about that. And it's so unfair this, if only that. Bro, I don't even have any of those thoughts anymore. I'm just like, I've got right here now and it's fucking G. I love it.
Now you get stuck in the why over and over, the why, when in reality you have to change the why into a how. And that really helps you start moving forward because you start building solutions to that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, change the why to the how. I've never heard that. That's a good phrase. And then get obsessed with the how. You know what I'm saying? The how should become your identity, really. If you're struggling with your identity and stuff like that, just find a how. That should become you. And then to go back to the story. So yeah, went to this, grew up in this town, and then had like a really fearful. So my dad's the one this Indian, right? Like Muslim. But in that culture, and anyone related to this, any like half kid, any sons of immigrants and shit like that, they often come, especially when they're not educated, they grew up in poverty, they're like first generation into the country. They're full of what I was saying earlier about the fear, the guilt, the shame, like drastically so. And that generational shit gets passed down, and you got to be the one to stop it. So with me, my dad was like, he was like actively attacked growing up for being like the only one of a different color in his area and shit like that. So he was just a scared fucking guy that never really had any empowerment, never knew how to fight back. And his whole survival thing was just let them do it and hopefully they won't hurt you. So like, hopefully they won't kill you type thing. So just be a bitch, basically. That was it. So yeah, I had that growing up, and obviously my personality is fucking nuclear. So I was the whole time I was like doing my thing, like trying to fit into this town, and like trying to assimilate with all these kids that I didn't really understand. Because now it's so mad, by the way, in 2024 to look at it now. When I moved there, this was like as 9/11 was happening, and people at school, yeah, would see like me with my dad or my uncle or something, and they just come and beat me up. They'd be like, your family did 9/11.
That's a tough time to move to a new town of Europeans as a Muslim kid right after 9/11.
There was no one there. And I don't even look it, by the way. This is part of why I had conflict, because I got called Gorda Butcher growing up, which means white boy. But then I would go here and they see me with brown people. That would, like, the brown people in my family would be calling me white boy. I would go here with the brown people in my family, and all the white boys would be like, fuck you, Paki terrorist, like that, and just start fucking me up. So like I was just like, well, I don't fit in anywhere type thing. And but then my dad would just be like, yo, just take it. He'd just be like, just try and be as much as you can like them. Just try and fit in. So when you're fucking like 8 years old and your brain is in that theta wave and you're just soaking in everything and you're getting all your schemas laid down, I was told be more like them. They were all saying fuck Pakis, fuck foreigners, like anyone from there's a terrorist. So all of that, I just dialed in. I was like, yeah, I'm a scumbag for these reasons. I suck for these reasons. Like, and I had this molestation thing. So I just had nothing but fucking shame, guilt, fear. Like, don't be at all proud of who you are. The complete opposite of what we know to be a functional mindset as a man. Literally the polar opposite. So that happened. And then I just kind of went to school there for a bit. And bro, they were the OGs at wokeism. Like, these guys were doing blue haired fucking non-binary shit since fucking early 2000s. They were doing it since it was cool, since before it was cool. So I had that shit going on as well. So here's a funny one. I went one of my first lessons in school in this place. So I got beaten up in the morning one time. Yeah, one kid threw me down some stairs, and he was like, say sorry for the Twin Towers, like that. And so I was like, all right, sorry. And then that next class, my escape was being quite intelligent. Like, I like to do well, like answer the teachers and do good at that, like a little good boy. And because I was clever, right? So the teacher was talking about like religious studies, and I said the phrase. I was like, when God made the world, did he? And then she just interrupted me there. When we don't assume God's gender here, like that. So don't assume God's gender. It could have been a woman, like that. Went on this tangent about how women and men are the same thing. So and bearing in mind, for those first like 8, 9, 10 years, about 9 years actually, yeah, about 9 years, I was getting read the Quran like 5 times a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, men and women were separated growing up. Things like this, like women would walk behind the men and shit. And then I'm being told, oh, actually, the guy that created this book that you've been read is probably a girl. It just blew my fucking mind. So I'm very confused growing up for these sorts of reasons.
Yeah, they're trying to confuse you.
Say that again?
They're trying to confuse you. That's a terrible thing to do to a kid.
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing.
Especially one with an open mind. And then this is one thing I had to work a lot on to overcome the resentment, is the gift that I was, like my mind was, to mentors, to older people. Because I get it now as a coach, right? When you get someone who's in that childish state of why, and by the way, this is how I define age person is, not biological is, how neuroplastic is your mind, and how willing are you to acquire gnosis and knowledge? How much do you want to develop your fucking neural networks and your understanding and your connection to knowledge? That to me is age. You can do that forever. When you just decide, no, I'm done. That's my hard drive filled up. That's like that. That's you finished. So that phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like, you actually could. An old dog is just someone that refuses to learn new tricks. Now it doesn't matter what age you are. You get what I'm saying? So when you have the gift of youth, you have young people, an inquiring mind, and you just fucking violate it like that. It's actually satanic. This is why I'm so passionate about the work I do, because look at what they're doing. That's why they're doing what they're doing at the ages that they're doing. Let's teach a 4-year-old about how to finger a man. Like it's you get them at that age for that reason. You know what I mean? So we have a duty to really nurture that and protect it, to be honest, like until it's old enough to fight for itself.
Yeah, the pendulum's swinging the other way, definitely. And the more we can talk about this kind of stuff, and people that live through experiences, where you're talking about your upbringing out of Brighton, and yeah, obviously it's a real woke town. And then when did you get out of there? How old were you?
Probably like last week, pretty much. It feels like last week. Because honestly, when you say get out, it's the mental thing. It's like I said,
no, geographically,
you know what I mean. It's geographically it was it was probably when I was like 18 when I moved to Thailand to fight.
So from like 8 years old to you're 18, you're in Brighton, you're getting bullied, and then did you do martial arts there before you moved to Thailand?
Yeah, so then it was the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. We did really well in England. We had Tony Jeffries. We had some good guys, David Price and shit. I think we had like 5 medals or something in boxing. And I was like, oh, sick. And one of them was a Pakistani kid. Yeah. Forget his last name, but this Pakistani guy, and he was a flyweight as well. He was like me. Bro, I didn't grow a fucking pube till I was like 18. I was like this tiny little fucking midget, low T little kid, like little dweeb for the longest time. And I saw this other little packy midget and I was like, yo, man's fast. And we had Amir Khan at that time as well. Amir Khan was smashing it. He was tearing it up also. So, and he got the silver in 2004 in Athens and he just started his pro career. So I saw these 2 sort of Pakistani kids just throwing hands. I was like, yo, I need some of that. And I'd done karate before as well. I forgot to mention I was doing karate since I was like 10 or something. And I knew it was the thing I needed to do, because to do our grading, our teacher was a G, to be fair. They probably wouldn't get away with this now, but our teacher would make us fight each other for a yellow belt, a green belt, orange belt and shit. Literally.
You're like 8 years old. Like,
right. only one of you is getting promoted.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
There was at one point, there was 5 of us and there was 3 belts. I promise you. And his philosophy was like, if there's 2 of you who don't get one, at least you can comfort each other.
That's old school. I've heard of this. Yeah.
That's how it should be.
So that was that like a traditional karate school?
Yeah. So I can't wait to hear your Uchi Desai experience. But is it Deshi or Deshai, by the way? How do you pronounce that? Deshi, yeah. But no, so mine was you say traditional. It was traditional because in the sense that a teacher who's just dedicated his life to this thing will hire out a sports hall. You pay like £5 a session, which is like $8 at the time or something, not even that. $5 back then. And everyone just comes in this like gritty little nothing sports community center where there's like some old people playing badminton next to you and you're just there fucking doing your katas and shit.
When my daughter was very young, I had her in martial arts, doing capoeira and just looking for any kids class, when she's like 5 years old. And I found an Aikido school in Japantown in San Francisco that was probably the most traditional training I have ever seen in my life at the YMCA. He would roll the mats out for his class. And I mean, it was so, as soon as I saw the guy, I'm like, this is legit.
Get what I mean?
Yeah. He's incredible.
Right. Yeah.
You can find some of the best. My teacher's teacher, I was just actually Googling him the other day. My jiu-jitsu teacher's teacher, who's still around, he's probably pushing 80 now. He teaches at the YMCA in Torrance.
Hey.
So like guys, 9th degree black belt, so you can get some, fantastic instruction off the beaten path.
Anyone who's like, because now it's all been quite normalized. You've got like really nice gyms and they're all getting back financially because all these like venture capitalists are seeing the growth of MMA. So you're getting like, they're seeing it as a business now. Bro, if you're a younger guy, and you haven't had the privilege of rolling out your own mats and like cockroaches coming out of the mats and shit like this. Like, there's always that guy on fucking fold away bike. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And then you'll always have the same cliche people, like fucking literally like Family Guy characters. You get the guy like the accountant with a fold away bike and like a flannel shirt. He's got his like nerdy glasses and he's like always a brown belt and he's always quite good, but it's not actually a fighter. He's just you get what I'm saying? You get these types.
Yeah.
If you haven't had the privilege of that, then Yeah, that's something I feel sorry for the youth of today.
So
That's how you know someone's like you.
but you're doing karate for a while as a kid, like kids classes, and you're growing up, and it's giving you kind of foundation, and then you see the Olympics in
Right.
2008,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I want
So
to
this
get a little
is
sense of the martial arts, how the martial arts, like the seed was planted.
definitely how the seed was planted. So this again is, I think it's a really important point, is that the first time I hit someone in karate, so during that grading, it was like, was it? Yeah. It was. I think it was like white to orange belt, and fucking. I remember hitting someone for the first time. I was only like 8, so I didn't really do much. But the way it just sunk in, and the way that he squirmed, and it sounds horrible. By the way, I'll preface this. I genuinely hate violence. It makes me feel sick when I see people get hurt. I genuinely hate it. But there was something in that moment where, for the first time ever, I felt that I had some sort of control over something trying to attack me, something trying to hurt me. I must have only been like, I would say 10 or 11. But I hit, and he was my friend as well, so I wasn't trying to hurt him, but I just got told you have to hit this guy. So I hit him, and I saw the way that he got away from me, and it gave me like a bit of control over that situation. And it felt really fucking good, like really good. And this isn't the start of like my serial killer arc, don't worry. I never became a bully or anything, but it did feel good. And what I realized in that moment is that, for the lot, like looking back on that, so many people are taught like, just be nice, be kind, whilst also being told it's okay to not be okay. Don't fight back. Like, don't be too aggressive. Like, and at the same time in school, by the way, this is all happening together. We went into school kind of as they were doing the Iraq war, as they were invading Iraq in 2003. But this big meeting assembly, and they were like, we're not doing British Bulldog anymore. We're not playing tag and stuck in the mud, which are all like contact games where you have to like try and catch each other in the playground and shit like this. They were like, in sports day, there's no winners or losers. There's only who tried the hardest, shit like this, like the most improved student. We're not doing contact games where you throw beanbags at each other. All the footballs become like soft fucking plastic ones. So all of this, and I just remember this never ever left me. And the contrast of all this shit. So I'm there feeling like more and more of a little bitch. But then when I hit this kid, and I was the one that got the belt, obviously. And I was just like, this feels really fucking normal. It's not that actually it feels good and I'm glad that I hurt someone. I felt really bad. I gave him a hug and shit, but I was like, this feels right. Like, I shouldn't feel like a little pussy. Like, this is good to fucking work and control the situation. So that's when I kind of moved away from, but we only did that like once in a grading. The rest of it was just kata and stuff like that. That's when I discovered boxing. I saw the Olympic shit, and I was like, what, you're telling me you get to hit someone every single time? Like, fuck yeah, let's try this. So I went in there. I remember Brian Harvey, shout out Brian Harvey, legend. And this, by the way, also instilled like the values of when you get older as a man, giving back to the community, being a mentor. It's one of the human givens, by the way. It's one of the things that humans need for their spiritual nutrition, is to feel status and feel like they've got value to share. You know what I'm saying? Like, being a teacher is a very important part of like a man's journey, like giving knowledge and having people look up to you. So this is kind of what I realized then. These boxing coaches in England, right, fucking 95% of them are volunteers. The classes are like £3 a session, like $4 or something, and it costs nothing. And you turn up and you've got the hardest working kids from the most shit backgrounds, with these coaches just turning up knowing full well that this is the only thing stopping them from being in prison. And I could feel the realness there. Like, I could feel the fact that this guy was just giving his time up, like working really hard after a long day of work himself, and he's got his own shit going on, and just teaching us to fight. And I went into this gym here, it's called Cheetah's Gym. And this is like probably the only real thing in my old town. This place here, you basically had to be on steroids to be allowed to train there. It was a fucking mad place. And like all the shit was falling down. It was like proper spitting sawdust. There were like nails coming out of the wall that could have taken it out if you weren't paying attention. And I go there and I'm like 14. I was like 13 years old in 2008. And I go and ask the counter, there's this guy. And I've never really given a fuck ever, like never ever. And I see this big guy behind the thing, and he's there, and he's like looking at me like, are you joking type thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for boxing. I want to learn to fight like that. This guy's like, he just looked at me and walked off. Right, the guy just left. He just walked off. I went, excuse me, did you hear me?
Sorry.
Like, sir.
Yeah, like, little Karen energy when I'm like 13. And but I was adamant. I was like, yo, I need to learn this shit. You're telling me there's packages that can fight, I want to be one of them. And he come back and he was like, what? Like that, just fucking lost it. And another guy came in and was like, come on, like, calm down. He was like, yeah, it's down there, pointing me to the thing. And I went there and I just, for the first session, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I just knew I didn't want to be weak and quit. So I just hit this bag as hard as I fucking could and then ran to the toilet, threw up, came back, did the same thing and just repeated that for like 6 months. None of the coaches give a fuck about you until you keep turning up, just keep proving you're going to turn up. Then he started paying attention after. So that's how I actually got into proper combat training, was through boxing with Brian Harvey. Big up.
That guy who greeted you that way on the first day, did he become a training partner later on? Or was he always a prick?
It's probably in jail somewhere.
But that is also traditional training too. You know, you hear stories about the Shaolin Temple where you come in and finally after, you know, being admitted entrance and you're camping outside for days and they don't even pay any attention to you. Finally, you come in, they show you one form and they're just like, practice. And then there's no questions, there's nothing. You will drill that form over and over for maybe a year. In Wing Chun, I've heard of some schools that'll teach Silam Tao for 1 year. And they'll just show you a few moves of Silam Tao and that's it. You know, before they won't even show you the whole form. Because they want to make sure, is this person worth my investment? Is this, you know, like you were saying, it is very important to give that value, to step into that time when you become the teacher, and you're not just going to give that out to anybody that's showing up. You want to make sure they're a serious student. So that is very traditional, what you're describing. Yeah.
And what's funny about that, whether it's boxing, whether it's kung fu, whether it's fucking taekwondo, it doesn't matter. It's the ethos. And that's what's lost today. That's why half the reason that men are so fucked today and the world's so fucked is that there's such a sense of entitlement today where no one's had to earn anything. You get instant gratification. You can just feel good about yourself with the right angle of a picture in a post or something like that. Whereas what I realized is when I went through that process of learning to box and deserving to get invested by a good coach, that was like a 6-month process of the same validation that some guys are getting today just for posting a selfie with their shirt off and like getting loads of likes. You know what I'm saying? It's the same. I remember so well when he finally, bro, this is actually kind of crazy. I remember after 6 months, this guy didn't know who the fuck I was. Like, no one really knew who I was. No one really gave a fuck. And I remember just hearing my name. Bro, it meant so much to me because I didn't really feel like I had fucking anyone in my life. Like, no men, no anything of that cared about empowering me. And I had him go, right, Sam, come on, let's go on the pads like that. And it was the coach. I was like, oh, what? He knows my name. He wants to train. He wants to go on the pads with me. It felt so fucking good. And I was like, all right, cool. Now we can really, I've proven that I belong here. Like, let's go. And that was the foundation there. So what you're saying is spot on. Everyone needs that to, yeah.
So you spent a lot of time in that boxing gym, it sounds like.
Yeah, four times a week this was fucking insane. So I was going, so because I'm kind of intelligent, I got taken into this school where I had to be there at 7:30 in the morning. I would leave at 6 p.m. at night, just work all day long. It's fucking crazy. It was like this insane institution at this academy. I would come, but I would try and leave early to come to these classes. And if I couldn't, I would just come back from this place and just go straight to that gym and then just get up in the morning, run, go to this school, come back. And that's all I would do for like my teenage years. Yeah. So I spent as much time as I could there. And I didn't even get to train as much as I wanted to because I had to go to this fucking school because being Indian as well, like all they care about is they're proper cut. Like they're really fucking, they're idiots. A lot of Indians are idiots. That's why like, the whole concept of jeets and shit exists because they just think, oh, get an education. It doesn't matter where it's from or what the education is. As long as it has like a grade at the end and it's licensed by some government thing, it must be better. And do you get what I'm saying? So I was told like, you've got to be really get all these fucking exams and shit. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like the best education I got was that boxing gym. I'm telling you, it was, I would be dead right now if I never kept going there and just having by the way, to anyone listening, I had to fight just to go fight. Like my mum didn't want me doing it. Everyone was trying to stop me. They were like, no, this is ridiculous. Like you need to study, you need to do all these things. I was like, no, I'm telling you, I need to be grounded into reality. I need to feel strong and powerful and competent physically and to overcome the fear of fighting. I'm a tiny little kid. I used to get fucking smashed. I used to get battered. Like for every sparring, it was Wednesday and Saturday. Every sparring I come with like bleeding nose. I was seeing double occasionally because I was like 45 kilos. I had no idea what I was doing. For the longest time. And that's why I'm so confident now, even as a supposedly smaller guy now. It's because of those years spent doing that. So I'm so grateful that I fucking just had the stubbornness to keep going.
Did you compete a lot during that time? Or how old were you when you first had a boxing match?
This was when I was This is when I was 14. And you know what? I didn't actually fight as much as I should back then because I had this school. So we were playing like sports matches on during the boxing season. So all the boxing competitions were on like Saturdays. And I'd have to go out and do, because my mum wouldn't let me. She just wouldn't let me do it. She was like, no,
Academics,
you've got to go and
they
do
made you,
like
yeah.
football, some gay sports like football, to which I was really good. I ended up playing at semi-pro as a footballer. But even then, I just had this awareness. I was like, football's gay. Like, fuck, what is all this shit? People falling around on the floor, like, there's no contact. There's no fucking vicious, like, overcoming actual fear type thing,
Yeah.
which is what I wanted to do. I had two fights. It was nothing special. Like, I never won any like good tournaments or anything like that, which is probably one thing that I'm a bit sad about. But
Yeah.
I had no choice in the matter, so I couldn't really do anything about it.
All right, well, let's keep going through the chronology of the martial way.
Yeah.
So boxing, about 18 years old, that's when you decide then to move to Thailand?
That's when I was like, well, fucking stop me now. So now I'm going to actually fight for real. So at 18, I was like, right. Everyone's like, yo, you've got to go to
I'm sure
university.
your folks
man.
wanted you to go to college or whatever. Like they had other people had plans for you, and you just wanted to fight.
I remember, one time my mom was like, my dad said to me, he was like, you know, you're killing your mom. Like, you're breaking her heart. Like, you're talking about going to Thailand and just fighting. Like, you've got to be the first in the family to go to university and all this shit. And I was like, bro, shut your mouth. Like, fuck that. I can see it's a scam. Because here's what they did. Overnight, literally overnight, they raised it from $3,000 a year to $9,000. They tripled it. So they tripled it, the fees to go to university for anyone. And I tried to justify it by going, oh, don't worry, you're not going to pay it back till you earn a certain amount. But just for me, life is very obvious. There's a thing called Occam's razor in philosophy. Have you ever heard of it?
Explain it, yeah.
The simplest explanation often makes the most sense in a nutshell. I was like, you're telling me you're going to triple the fees overnight for something that supposedly everyone needs that's really important. Clearly, you're not doing this for the people that fucking, it's not here to empower people. It's just some silly business that you're just going to take the piss with the pricing. Like, you're just going to fucking 3x the markup, 300% the markup, and just tell everyone they've got to deal with it. Like, this is clearly a load of shit. So fuck that, I'm not doing it. I'm going to go fight because that's what I want to do. So 18, boom. As soon as I turned 18, just went to Thailand. Same sort of energy, by the way. Same sort of energy, just willing to be laughed at. I was willing for people just to bully me, not take the piss, to get the piss taken out of me. Didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. I just remember seeing one time, the reason I went to do Muay Thai, I saw someone hit someone with a leg kick in a street fight. And obviously all I knew about was hands. There was no jiu-jitsu back then or anything. There was just, I had done karate. I knew about boxing. And I saw someone get mashed with a leg kick. I was like, bruv, it was like someone had shown me X-ray vision or something. I was like, yo, I need to fucking learn this superpower. Are you joking? Like, that was sick. Like, you're telling me you can just someone can stop walking like with just one technique. So I was like, I need to go learn that. So I went to Thailand at 18. Worked some shit job for like 3 years my last 3 years in school. Just saved up £4,000, which in 2013 was, no, when was this? 2012. Yeah, that was like enough for 6 months. So I turned up, and back then it was like I was looking at places to stay depending on which one was $1 cheaper type thing. Like, how can I make this money stretch? Like, this one's $7 a night, this one's $8 a night, this one has a fan, this one doesn't have a fan. Like, that's how I was doing it back then. I was just doing anything to as long as I could training.
Yeah, man. If it has a fan, it's very important in the calculations. Yeah.
Yeah, in the tropics.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just stage one. That's like there's 3 levels to it. When you're a broke teenager trying to get your foot in the door as a fighter, you have 3 stages. One is no sort of conditioning to that temperature whatsoever. You're just fucking left at the mercy of whatever God decides on that night. 2 is a fan. That's when you start like getting a taste for the high life as a fan, yeah. But you're still kind of dealing with cockroaches and shit. So you're not quite there yet. That's like kind of more middle class. Then when you've had a few fights and you can afford it, then you get to go fucking crazy and get your own aircon. Bruv, when you get an aircon, you're telling me you get a remote control to control the temperature. Bruv, you're basically God. You get what I'm saying? But that only lasts. Yeah, but that only lasts for a week until the money runs out, and then you're back to a fan. You get relegated again.
So how, like, when you landed, and now I'm just fucking curious because you land in Thailand, you're 18 years old, you have barely enough money for 6 months. How did you pick the school? Where did you end up going?
Yeah.
Like, how was those first few months?
Yeah, it was sick. It was went Dragon Muay Thai. Shout out San, Coach San taught me everything about Muay Thai. I went to so back then Tiger was starting to pop off. Obviously everyone knows where Tiger is now, but back then it wasn't as, it was still pretty gritty, like spitting sawdust-esque, but it was starting to get a name. It was still starting to get a name. People were like, yo, you know, you can go and learn Muay Thai in Thailand and they take care of everything. You can stay there. It was like the first like real fucking internationally publicly facing Muay Thai camp. Well, I've always had this mindset where I've been like, if something's already in like mainstream, it's already in public, like the average awareness of people, then it's probably not that good. You want to look for the things that most people aren't seeing. You know what I mean? Like that's where like the real magic is. It's kind of if you know type thing. So I was looking up Tiger and looking up stuff around that, and then I saw this place called Dragon, which is literally on the same road down the road, and it was just so like run down and dilapidated. I was like, yeah, this looks actually really cool. Like it must be good if they're next to Tiger, and Tiger's like the big famous one, but this one's all run down and shit, but it's still operating in front of Tiger. Clearly there's something there. Do you get what I'm saying? You probably get more attention. They might know some more magic. So yeah, I went to Dragon and straight away just got thrown in there. And in my first ever session, I got thrown out of the ring by a 12-year-old, and it just changed my life. The guy clinched me, boom, like kind of like yeah, like similar to like a Diashi Barai, like just tripped me and just boom, straight like fucking over the thing, pushed me out. I was like, looked at him and he wasn't laughing, he wasn't mocking it or anything. To him, it was the most normal thing. I was like, bro, I'm like, what, 4 years old, 6 years older than this kid. And he's just dumped me like that. This is my life. Like, I'm doing this forever. This is sick.
Yeah.
So
1 foot sweep.
I got alpha back.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
So how was training then? Because I always hear stories about, you know, you wake up in the morning at 5 and you run like 20 miles and you come back. Is it like that or?
Yeah. So it's interesting because some gyms, it's similar to what we are talking about. To earn your place there and get taken seriously, you have to do whatever they say. Some places just leave it up to you. They don't really care. They're like, yeah, if you want to fight, take it as seriously as you want. If you get knocked out, you get knocked out. Like we talked about at the start of this chat, since I was 5, I will push myself harder than anyone. Like I have to. It's just it's wired in me type thing because of certain experiences. So I was running an hour extra before everyone. I was literally getting up at 5. I'd run until, so it took me like 15 minutes to get my shit together. I'd be out on the road. I'd run till like 6:15. And back then I knew fucking nothing about nutrition as well. I didn't know anything. So I thought you had to eat before you trained. I was like, you can't eat without energy. That's crazy. And that's from my mum as well. You know, like your mum and your nan is always like, come on, you're going,
you have to eat breakfast. Oatmeal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll be like, outside this calf, like trying to like cram in as much like toast and shit like that for like 30 minutes before class. And then in Thailand, it's very much about volume, right? So
like about what? Volume?
So yeah,
Volume.
Volume. So they really, really don't, I don't know how to say this respectfully, but the training in general is genuinely very low IQ. Like, and that's not being nasty. It just is. There's not much emphasis on technical prowess or details within a technique and how to coordinate biomechanics and locomotion and force transference and stuff like that. You'll be very lucky to get a coach really break down the intricacies of Muay Thai technique. But what they are very good at is just attrition and volume and conditioning. So most classes are basically what you would see in the West is Muay Thai fitness classes. You know what I mean? With just a lot of clinching and sparring on top. So you'll be doing like 30 minutes of pads, and a lot of them are very unstructured. So this is actually quite surprising to me. I'll come out of this environment back home where it was all very regimented, homework, like fucking really high level thinking and shit like that. Got in Thailand, and then they're just like, they'll start a class with clinching. They'll just go, do some clinching for 20 minutes. And then they'll just go, right, everyone get on the pads, and you just start throwing 30 roundhouses both sides. Then it'll be like 30 knees. Then it'll just be random freestyle. And then they'll just say, all right, go do a circuit. And you'll be like, what kind of circuit? And they'll say, just make it up. So and it's the culture, the phrase is sabai, like easy. And you feel that when you come here, like when you land, the whole energy is relaxed. Everyone here is smiling. Everyone here, you can be late if you want. There's no pressure at all, which is good and bad because it takes you fucking 20 minutes to order a coffee anywhere. But it's also nice because it's relaxing at the same time. You get what I'm saying? So that was really weird to me. Sabai, yeah, easy, just easy, relaxed. And in the culture, it's very rare. They won't be like, think of New York, it's the opposite. It's the absolute, they won't be like honking horns at each other, not swearing at each other. Yeah. Yeah, and there's no aggression. Like, it's very like there's this whole concept called losing face, where you should never lose your emotion. You should never, because it's a collectivist culture. You know this, I'm assuming from your studies with Japanese martial arts, like they get their comfort from making sure they don't rock the boat within the community. Within
100%. That is completely true. I think it's more like, Asian cultures generally, like Chinese, Japanese, Southeast Asian. I've always heard this, and my teacher imparted that to us too, that in the West, it's about, look at me, look at my accomplishments. And over there, it's more of like, what kind of people do I come from? How do I reflect upon the group? That is 100% true.
So what's the reason this ties into martial arts? The reason I'm saying all this is because when you're a neurotic Westerner and your whole thing is like, you've got to succeed. Bro, by the way, my mentality was like, it's still from that thing when I was 5. I was like, if I don't make it as a champion, I don't deserve to live. Like, if I don't win some sort of title, if I don't make this as a famous fighter, I need to die. Like, that was it. It was the worst negative reinforcement. That's why I was getting up running and shit. It was like running for my life type thing. So I get there and I'm like, and I said to him, I want to fight fucking straight away. Like, get me in the ring. I can box and my hands were good. Like, that same kid that threw me out the ring, I fucked him up, even though I was 12. Like, I was the same size as him. So I was like, hey, but with the hands. And then he got the shin guards on and he started smashing me up again. But yeah, I had the hands locked off. So all I did, I said to them, just teach me to kick and clinch. That's it. Just all I want to do is learn to clinch and kick. And I want you to get me a fight in a month. And they were like, okay, you sure? Yeah. And I said, yeah, no problem. So, but I'm just neurotic. I'm like, yo, I need to fight. I've got to take it seriously. I need to be up at exactly 5, eating this toast at exactly this time. I need to do this exact type of clinching, this exact amount of kicks. And you turn up and they're just like, hey, easy, don't worry. Yeah, fighting, no problem. And they just don't give a fuck. Like, one, because they've done it for so long themselves. They've been fighting since they're 5 years old, all these trainers. It was all they've ever known is fighting. And 2, because it's the culture. There's no pressure for anything. So that was a bit of a head fuck. Like that kind of recalibrated a lot of my understanding of reality, is that you can be a really physically competent motherfucker. Like, you can be very dangerous with your 8 limbs, but mentally you can be at peace as well. So I didn't know how to do it. I saw them quite relaxed. I didn't know how. I was still neurotic for the next fucking 15 years, but I just saw it was possible, right? You get what I mean? So
I was gonna ask, like, how long did it take you to assimilate? It seems like it hasn't.
Yeah, it was well, this goes, if we were to go further down the timeline, it was only when I started understanding about biology, gut health, hormones, neurotransmitters, detoxing, methylation, these kinds of things, nervous system activation. That's when I started understanding, this is how emotion manifests as behavior, as physical presentation, as energy. You know what I mean? It's not a mindset. Like, anxiety isn't a mindset, it's a physical state. If you're like constantly jittery and you're talking too much and you're really quick and like everything's going a million miles an hour, you can't just decide to be yours. Sabai, easy, yeah, be easy. You can try. You can sit there and just go, I'll go easy. But that sense of fucking panic is still there unless you know how to rewire that at a biological level. Do you get what I mean?
And can you explain that a little bit more? Because you started with your gut biome. In what way did that change for you then?
So, one, understanding what it is. Most people don't even understand what bacteria is and the role that it has. Like, in our life as humans, it's like the majority of us is bacteria. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's insane to think. You have like these billions of organisms that are just all within us that facilitate basically all of our biological processes. Understanding that conceptually to begin with is important. And then realizing that the balance of that, because you have tons of different strains. So when you start realizing how many different strains you have, and they all need to be as balanced as possible in order for you to be balanced, which is the aim of life, right? That's the aim of martial arts, of everything, is just find balance, mind, body, and spirit, just find peace. When the facilitator of your biological processes, and therefore your behavior, your energy, and your emotions, is imbalanced, it's very hard for you to be balanced. You get what I mean? So the way to actually how do you find out is test it. There's tons of testing you can do now. Like, and it wasn't really that available when all of us was younger. Do you know what I mean? When we were like 10, 11, 12, it wasn't that common knowledge. Because now it's quite easy to test it all. So that was the first thing that changed, was just actually getting tests. And then looking at the data and realizing how imbalanced a lot of it was, looking at life experience and realizing why it's imbalanced. You get what I'm saying? Because there's reasons that it gets imbalanced: stress, environment, diet. You get what I mean? Things like this. So you then fix the causes for the imbalance. You fix the imbalance, and then you start building on top of that. Is that making sense?
I was asking, yeah, it all makes sense, but I was asking more in terms of you personally. How did it change? Like when you came to that realization, you did those tests. Could you see a clear delineation be the before and the after, or did it take
Yeah,
months for you to start adjusting?
you know what? It was such a different, bro. Like a new person, like genuinely a different. I would show you pictures. Like a lot of people don't believe that I'm the same, but they see me and they're like, nah, no way. Like, no way is that you.
All right, so
You
but
li-
you started at the Muay Thai gym, and you're working hard. You're a young guy, you know, early 20s. When did things start to change where you started to really feel physically, you know, where it was going down? And I'm bringing this up because this is what you've been sharing on IG recently, some photos of, you know, you said you had some hormone stuff going on, and yeah, this recovery. How did that, you obviously were, you know, going through all the conditioning at the Muay Thai gym, and then things started to deteriorate. How did that happen?
yeah.
Where you
So
needed to do this?
yeah, sure. All right, I hear you. So I was training I was so disciplined. I was doing everything I possibly could to be the best athlete that I could. And I just never physically clicked. Like something never was quite there. I was never as strong as I should have been. I was always like fatiguing. I was, I was, I was having to rely on pure ego to just survive the training versus thriving as a strong, competent guy that was like just flowing. Do you get what I'm saying? So I was in a constant state of physical breakdown, which all fighters are. Don't get it twisted. Everyone's fighting's not easy, and you're often tired. You're often not feeling great. But I was never functioning adequately, really and truly. And I realize now it was because of all of that stuff from early in life. The fact I was in such fight or flight to begin with. I don't think I had proper hormone level. Well, I didn't. I know I didn't. I didn't have proper hormone levels. One, because of what we all know, like all the toxicity in the air and shit like that. One, because of the environment I came from, and then one because of the constant stress. And it was because of. So I'm gonna give you like a concise answer, but this is all relevant. So because of all those reasons, and also the ill, like when my mum was pregnant, she almost died. She was in ICU when she was carrying me. So to bring it back to that bacteria, which is very fucking important, especially if you want to be like a high level athlete and performer, you get your first coating of microbiome via your mum. Yeah, me from her nani juice. Like when you get squeezed out of her, like that's what covers you. That's what gives you. That's why you have a connection to your mum, right? So hers was just absolutely fucked with like antibiotics, like so many drugs, so much cortisol, like so much shit that she had been going through via her illness. It just absolutely mashed my own microbiome. And so my gut was completely mashed up. I was having tons of digestion issues back then as well. But I just knew that in my mind, I was like, I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to quit. I've said I've got this goal of being a fighter. Let me just work through it. So I was just breaking myself, working so much harder just to keep it going. And then eventually my body just started breaking down in my like early 20s. It just wouldn't handle it anymore. It couldn't fucking function. And this is where my hips started really playing up. So to bring it back to the early life experiences, I really defensive, scarce, fearful, anxious posture. And I had my hips were just constantly internally rotated, like for protection, right? Because I got like touched up there when I was younger. It's really important to understand for anyone that's been through physical trauma, whether that's war, getting stabbed, like any kind of fucking abuse, your body naturally, especially when you're young and you don't even know what's going on, your body will naturally have holding patterns, like tension. A lot of people in the office have it in their fucking shoulders here. And there's common areas where you hold tension. Mine was in my hips. And it's often fascial related. It's where your fascia gets all knotted up. My hips started clicking around this time, like really badly. They were just popping, like, and I would go to kick, and it felt like someone was shanking me in the hip. But I didn't want to stop. My mindset was too strong. But I would go to kick. I would literally be warming up for fights. I'd be in Thailand. I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? My hip would just be in agony, like as I was warming up to go and fight someone. So I was like fighting my own body just to go fight another guy. And I didn't want to, because my only option in my head was death. I was like, if I don't make it as a fighter, if I don't beat all these people in front of me, if I don't get to the top, then I need to just die. So even if my body's breaking down, fuck that. But then this is when you're young and dumb, like you don't know any different, and you've just got ego and you've got unprocessed traumas and shit, and you're not at peace, and you're externalizing your peace onto outcomes, which is the worst thing to do. You don't want to quit, right? So I just kept going. And then I learned the meaning of the phrase, take a break or your body will take one for you. Because my body just packed in. It just fucking had enough. There was one day where I woke up after I was supposed to have like my fucking 13th fight or something. And I couldn't do it. I got out of bed and I tried to get dressed and I fell over. Like I put my foot down, raised one of my legs up to put my shorts on and just collapsed, like where my hip gave out. I was like, I can't, the fuck, like this isn't, I literally, mentally, I just can't overcome this. So I went and got it all checked out, had a lot of the surgeries on it, had all the rehab, had like 3 surgeries, had like 18 months of recovering. And it did get a bit better. And that's when, at this time, I came back to England, by the way, at that point. And then at this time, I went to New York to go and try and get it up and running again because I had an uncle that lived in New York. So I went and stayed with him to go and do jiu-jitsu at Renzo Gracie's, right? Another little key point, that a good bit of advice I would give people, learn who to learn from. I'd say my biggest skill is being perceptive and knowing who the guys are that have the knowledge that you need. You get what I'm saying? Don't just look at a guy because he's successful and talented. Look at how did he get his knowledge? Who did he learn from? Who did that guy that taught him learn from? Like, where's the root? How did that knowledge get passed down? What's the pathway? If you can calibrate into that and you can get to the source, and also that knowledge transmission is efficient to you because some schools are going to benefit you more than others. So be perceptive and take control of your own learning. Anyway, so just a little example of why I went there. I could tell at that time, this was in 2014, I think, 15 or something. And I was like, why is no one attacking legs? I remember I had this argument with my coach. I was like, yo, if you're going to get clotted up, if you're going to get smashed by someone in an MMA fight, I started competing at MMA as well. So I fixed up my hip. I had a couple of MMA fights before I did. I had that hip surgery and my hip started. What was it? I had to like really pack it in. I was already starting MMA. Once they then recovered again a little bit, I was saying to my jiu-jitsu coach, I was like, no one's attacking legs. This is stupid. Like, why? Because at the time I had a promotion called Cage Warriors. Sorry, not Cage Warriors. Cage Rage in England. And I grew up watching that. This was in like 2004. It's like the OG promotion. Do you remember? I forgot how you say his first name. Is it Mazakuzu Imanari? You know Imanari, Mazakuzu Imanari.
I know who Imanari is. Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? But he was smashing everyone with him. Yeah. And no one, but this was in like 2005 or something, 2006. And I remember just seeing that when I was younger. But when I was boxing, I didn't even know what MMA was. It just stuck in my mind. I remember saying to my coach in like 2014, I was like, why is no one caught up to this yet? Like, no one is attacking the legs and it's fucking stupid. Like, surely we should be doing it. And he literally, and we started arguing about it, like to the point he said, just fuck up, like, just get out. Like, I'm not arguing with you about stupid shit. And I was like, well, fuck this then. If you're not going to teach me, I'm going to go find it. And that's when I realized that no one knew who John Danaher was at the time, really. And I'm pretty sure the reason that I clocked him, Chris Weidman had just beaten Anderson Silva for the first time. But John Danaher, even though everyone was celebrating, was like, yo, you knocked out Anderson Silva. John Danaher was like, he took too many leg kicks. That was like the first thing he said. And I was like, all right, this guy sees stuff. Like he's got deeper perception, which to me is the most important trait as a human. The thing that everyone should be developing is their intelligence and their perception, right? So I could tell you have perception. I was like, all right, I'm going to go train with this motherfucker. So went to New York and then trained at Renzo Gracie's. Tried to get it up and running again. But again, my body just broke down, just wouldn't have it. I ended up in hospital. Like I just couldn't train at that level anymore. So that's then led to all the dark times, like the really dark times where I became a drug addict, got involved with that whole world and fucking really, really hit rock bottom. It was the depression of not being able to fight and have an outlet anymore. Do you know what I mean?
So you were in New York at that time?
Now I came back because body just wouldn't have it. Oh, my nan died as well, actually. Yeah, shout out my nan. Yeah, she fucking died. So I had to come back for a funeral, and at the same time, my body just imploded. So I was like, fuck yeah, just give it up. I had a black and white mentality. I was like, I'm either going to make it or I'm going to just forget all about it and never even think about it ever again, which is what I did. I was like, how can I just numb this? Let me just take as much shit as I can to just erase my hard drive, which is what I did.
And you're back in England at this time?
Yeah, so this is in 2016, back in England. So back in England, like 4 years old or something, and just had like in total, like 12 fights that I would count. I thought I was doing all right. Like I was building a little brand for myself. I was selling a lot of tickets, and then body just couldn't handle it. It was just in this state of absolute fucking misery. Like just just the lowest, the worst of the worst. I was in an environment where just everyone was like that, and everyone's just telling each other, "Oh, it's all right. This is just how life is." And I'm just like, "All right, cool."
You're in an
And growing
echo,
up, by the way,
chamber of people. You're all in the same like
yeah,
circle of hell together.
100%. And because, like I mentioned, the reason I talked about the environment earlier in this town. So with the more godless a town becomes, the more vices permeate it, right? So everyone's on drugs. The town I'm talking about, Brighton, it's probably one of the most drug dependent cities in the world. I would genuinely believe that. I spoke to a police guy once, and he was like, he stopped working as a policeman because of what he saw in Brighton. Like it's you have on the surface what you see. Look how lovely and open we are, and then underneath it, you realize it's fueled by absolute Satanism. Like just the most degenerate, hedonistic, disgusting things. The more gay people you have, the more pleasure-driven fucking insanity you get. The more mental health issues you have, the more coping mechanisms you have. So the whole place is fueled by it's okay to be gay. It's okay to be mentally ill. It's okay to be broke. It's okay to just be. It's okay to be a fucking broken human. P.S. Because really we know it's not okay. You're gonna need to cover it up. Here's just fucking all the drugs in the world. That's it. It's the whole thing is just run by drugs. So, and there it's all about like now it's all become about multiculturalism and bring everyone in and stuff like that. It never was back in the day when I was there, but in the past sort of 10, 15 years. So with that, you get tons of immigrants, like tons of drug gangs, like all this kind of thing. And it's vicious. It's an absolutely fucking filthy place. So that was why I was also really keen to do fighting as well, by the way, boxing. Because I could see all my friends, if everyone was like smoking crack and like taking coke when we were like 13, it was the most normal thing ever. Like just doing a line of coke and having sex with someone when we were like 12, 13, 14. You were weird if you didn't. You were a nerd if you didn't. And I always felt on the outside because I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this. I would try it and it would fucking almost give me a heart attack because I couldn't take it, literally. And also I was like, this is gay. Like, what's the outcome of this? Like, how do we, other than just feeling a bit better in this moment, like, how do we get better as people? So I was like, fuck this, I want to go train. And that was my coping mechanism for it. When I felt like I couldn't train anymore, I was like, right, let's see what this is really about. Let's see what all the fucking party's really about. I've missed out on all of this growing up. Now let's really make up for it. You get what I mean? And when you're an intense person, you're either doing it 100% and you're not. So I was like, let's really go. I was like, yeah, if you guys are just smoking it, I'm going to inject it. Like, if you guys are buying it, I'm going to sell it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it ended up in that.
And how long were you in this turmoil? And then what was it that brought you out of it?
Like 4 or 5 years or something. Like
in the Shadowlands.
She said that again.
In the Shadowlands.
Shadowlands. It was, yeah, it was bad. It wasn't good. It was, yeah, 4 years of just where the days became, time just becomes something else. Like a year might as well have been a week. So it was just the same thing over and over. Just try and die. My whole thing was like, just try to stop existing. That was it. And I could never fully like just quit because I was like, I can't leave people behind. I knew how much it would fuck people up. And I was like, there was something within me. I was like, I know I can turn this around, but I was in so much pain because I was so hormonally imbalanced, so much physical pain, so much shit from the past, so much just lack of purpose and creed and lack of empowerment and all this shit and just being taught to be a victim and conditioned to be a victim and not having the testosterone to even feel like anything but a victim. It's inevitable you end up like that. You get what I mean? So it just blurred. All these years just kind of blurred into fucking, yeah, about 4 years, to be honest. And then you asked what came out of it. I met my teacher, the guy that I call my teacher. And bro, this is deep. Yeah. So I was on the building site. I was working in the building site, and this is what again I'm saying with perception. I saw this guy. I met this guy, and I was shadowboxing in the corner, just all angry and shit. And he walked past me, and he just laughed, and he went, "Oh, cute," like that. It's from Eastern Europe. He didn't really speak English. He went, "Oh, that's cute." I was like, "What?" So and back then, all I wanted to do was fight everyone. All I wanted to do, like my whole purpose of my day was just look at people in the eyes and try and fight them. Like, just give me a reason to start. Right, I've got a whole story for this 4 years. I've got a whole fucking other catalog of stories. But rather than going on tangents, like it was bad. Like I would carry around shit and I just wanted to just fucking everyone to feel this pain that I was in. And so I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck? Like, who the fuck's this guy type thing? And tried to like kind of get fresh to him. And this guy, like, before I even knew what happened, I was against the wall. And you know, in jiu-jitsu, like the like collar choke type thing, he had like this, and he had a chisel in his hand. He put it in my diaphragm. So put it in my diaphragm with this choking like that. And he says, yes, Tej Pevne. He said, are you sure? Like that. And I was like, I couldn't talk because he's so precise with where he put his chisel. I was like trying to speak and I couldn't use my diaphragm. So I was like, and he just dropped it and walked off. I was like, I saw his eyes and I could tell it straight away. I could tell he was a soldier, but he wasn't just a soldier. I could tell he was like the realest guy you'll ever meet. I was like, this is my guy. I need to become best friends with this motherfucker like straight away. So, yeah.
What a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was the start of the turnaround. I was like, this guy gets it. Like, why the fuck is this guy?
Just to clarify, you kind of mouthed off to him. He said, oh, that's cute. And you made a comment like, you know, as if, do you want to fight? And he immediately put an end to it right then and there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. What a lesson. Yeah. What a beautiful lesson.
Straight away. Yeah. Cause like, but yeah. So, and I asked him, I just said to him straight away, I said, you're special forces, aren't you? And he just went, he didn't say anything. He just kind of like looked away like that and walked off. I was like, oh my God, like, yes, this is the guy that I've needed my whole life. And he absolutely was. He was a Spetsnaz. So he retired fucking Russian special forces. His whole story himself is fucking nuts. And he ended up on this building site. And he ended up, he was like 59 when I met him, and he took me in as a son, like called me son, and we spent the next 2 years just working every day with him, and he taught me a lot of stuff. And he was the one that taught me it's all right to be a man. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a man, and actually there's everything wrong with not being a man. You get what I'm saying? So that was the start of the turnaround. But also it was the biology as well. That was the mindset shift, is going, here's what a traditional fucking strong motherfucker, here's the guy that you wanted to be your whole life, mentally and physically, and how you present yourself. But also, bless up my mom, shout out to my mom, like, she also started like fucking just every day telling me, she was like, look, I'm telling you, there's this thing called a gut microbiome, there's this thing called a leaky gut, you need the right nutrition with food. If you're not getting that, that's your medicine, you're not going to be healthy. So it was the two things together that really started turning it around. Do you get what I mean? So to everyone that wants to optimize their life, it's a mind and body. It's the attention of your environment, who you're learning from, who you're interacting with, what your goals are. And it's also how you're fueling that with nutrition. Like, all medicine starts on the plate. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. I want to talk more about nutrition, but I want to hear more about the Spetsnaz instructor. 2 years with this guy. That sounds fascinating. He was not actively teaching, but he took you in as a protege, or how did that work out?
Yeah. So he's literally just an independent laborer, just a builder, like going around repairing people's houses and stuff. And highly traumatized guy. Like, unfortunately, didn't make it himself, but he could have saved the world. Honestly, he's the guy that the world needs right now. Like, you see guys like Jocko Willink and Andy Stumpf and all these guys, these Sean Ryans of the world, like these military podcast guys. This guy, what he could have done, I'm telling you, if he just had the right support at the right time, he would genuinely be one of the most valuable humans to ever walk the earth. So he was brought up in Eastern Europe, and his dad had the equivalent of the Medal of Honor from Russia at the time. So, because he was like a war veteran in World War II, the most impoverished guy, his life from early was just the most, like all special forces. If you ever listen to any of these guys' stories, their life is unbearable suffering. It's all they've ever known, which is why, similar to what I said at the start, like when your earliest memories are just overcome pain and trauma and just survive, it's just survival driven, you develop this fucking inability to quit, which is how they make it through selection. It's how they become so unstoppable. But it comes at a cost, right? So his whole thing was he was in jail when he was younger for he basically killed a policeman because the policeman was trying to kill him and his friend. And they said to me, "We're going to go to prison forever, or you can join the Russian army, the communist." Because this was during his country, Poland was a communist under Russia, and they said you can either fight for Russia or you're going to go to prison. Because he was trying to fight for the independence of his country against the Russians, and that's how he ended up killing his policemen. Like, you can either fight for us, or you're going to stay in prison forever. So we got put in this horrible choice. And because of who he is and how special he is and how physically gifted he is and spiritually gifted he was, he ended up basically accidentally joining like this Black Ops thing, like making it to the top level, the fucking top level, like really, really the top level. And like they all do, just got chewed up, spit out, and just left on his own, and no support after all the trauma of his theater was the Soviet Afghan war in the 80s. And long story short, just came over to this town Brighton, and he just ended up kind of picking there to die, really. Like, that's what I'm saying about my old town. It's where people go to die. It will suck your soul. It's really not a good place. And I think the reason that he took me in is because he said to me one time, he's very shamanic, by the way. So a very sensing person. I don't know if you know about personality types, but you have like intuitive, sensing, thinking, feeling, these kinds of traits. Obviously, as an operator, you have to be very sensing. You have to be very based on what's going on where, like, where's the enemy? Like, what's the weather? What's the wind? Like, how's it going to affect the trajectory of a round? This kind of shit, like contact of combat. Also, you have to be very intuitive. You know what I mean? You have to sense, like, he told me stories about, imagine being, so he ended up being the captain of this fucking tier 1 team. And he told me this one time, he said, what would you do if you had like, what was it, like 5 people whose lives depended on you and the outcome of this whole mission? You're standing in a village and and there's all these mujahideen there, that these 20 elders in the village, one of them is a snake, and he's going to go tell the Taliban everything, but he's pretending that he's your friend, and you don't know which one it is. You don't speak their language, and you just have to look them in the eye, and you have to work out which one it is. And you know that that's the one that you've got to get before you can go back. Before he said, how do you know to kill him, or are you going to accidentally kill someone's son by mistake? You know what I mean? So things like that. So you have to be intuitive as well as very sensing. So, he said to me one time, he was like, he said you're me on a different timeline, and it was that's what unlocked it. It unlocked something in me. Like, it turned me into the fucking guy that I am today. Like this champion today, where similar to what I said about my coach back in the day in boxing, where he said, "Hey Sam, come train." That justification of going, oh, a strong guy, like a strong martial artist who's overcome a lot, that's strong as fuck and capable, is telling me that I'm like him. Like, fuck, let's go. Like that was all I needed. And I think I gave it him purpose because he never had a son as well. So he wanted to try and offset some of his shit by being able to give back. Like we said before, it's important to give back as a man. Like, so I was very lucky. I was absolutely blessed to meet him. And he really did turn my life around. That's how that happened. That's another really good tip, by the way, for people. Find the right mentor. You owe it to your own destiny to find the right mentor. You're not going to unlock it yourself. That's anyone you've ever looked up to, anyone listening who's made it and you want to be where they are. The only reason you're looking up to them and they're where they are successful is because they had someone to help them get there. You have to have a sensei, a teacher. You have to submit to someone higher. You have to.
Yeah, amazing. So there you are with this guy. You said 2-3 years you spent with him?
No, it was probably about 2 years. Like 24 months. So we would just go to building jobs all the time. We just get up at 6, like drive around, go and repair houses and shit. And most of the time we were just doing like, so his whole, like all special forces martial arts is FMA, Filipino martial arts. That's where it all comes from. It's all Kali based and Screamer based. And you call it Krav Maga, call it whatever you want, but it's all the same system. It's all the same thing. It's just get a job done as fast as you can.
Well, a lot of those are weapon based too.
Right? Yeah. But here's what's interesting. I always asked him about like knife attacks and shit like that. And he never actually showed me. He never actually really trained with knives because he said, you don't need it. He said, it's just an extension of you. So if you can do it without the weapons, like a weapon is just literally an extension of you, whether it's a gun, a crowbar, whatever. He said, learn to do it without it and then the weapon becomes easy.
Interesting.
So we were working on this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, we were working some.
What are you guys training? Yeah, training what?
We were working some Eskrima footwork today. So the system of jiu-jitsu that I trained in for a long time and still working through it, the footwork is Eskrima based. And in the United States, there's the American Jiu-Jitsu and Judo Federation, the AJJF. And it's a really big martial arts organization. So it's not BJJ, but it's traditional Japanese martial arts. Most of the jiu-jitsu instructors are also high-ranking judoka. and almost all of them have a background in Filipino martial arts too, at least most of the professors that I've come across. And my teacher is no different. So he studied with Mike Inai for a long time, who was one of Angel Cabales' students. And so I learned the Inayan system of Eskrima, which is the footwork that we use for all of our open hand and entrances so you can do jiu-jitsu. So I can get in on you and throw you or lock you up. So we were doing, we were training jiu-jitsu today, but we were working the Eskrima footwork. And I had heard that from my teacher as well. So this is, commonly, this is the open hand and the footwork system that you see in special forces. And there's a knife attached to it, but it's just opening you up. It's teaching angles in a way that I haven't seen in boxing, or Muay Thai. It's just a different concept because, that was the training that was needed for those cultures. Everyone farmers, man. They're with machetes, and that was the art that evolved in that culture. And then I guess it really lent itself well to special forces, military style training. Yeah.
So it's a lot squarer. I would say the closest guy that you can think of in boxing would be someone like Lomachenko. I'd argue even Mike Tyson's like not even that dissimilar. If you're gonna compare it to sports fighting like boxing. That's because that was what the first thing that kind of threw me off when I started training with him was just how square and open everything is. Here, you're very square like that. You want to maximize the contact versus being obviously bladed in sports.
Yeah. The pro boxer I see the most it's a stretch because the footwork is so different, but I see Miguel Cotto has some of the aspects that I see when I've seen high-level escrimadores practicing.
Yeah. That's a good call.
It's like you're saying, square, chin down, and very front foot, as if you were fighting with a blade,
Yeah, maybe like Roberto Duran slightly.
Well, he's so fluid. I mean, he's a pure boxer, but he could do anything. That guy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Caught his shot.
Throw him knives at Roberto.
But so, all right. Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, I was going to ask you. I was just interested in you because you're a judoka, right?
No, I'm a jiu-jitsuka. But I'd studied Don Sam Raz jiu-jitsu, which it's like 50% judo, lots of throws. Traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu is the mother art, of Aikido, of BJJ, and judo. And so I was lucky enough to, meet a mentor when I was in my early 20s in Oakland, who I stayed with this guy 20 years, and he learned traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu. All the locks. When BJJ started to become popular, he was already, like a third-degree black belt, and he was very familiar with all of it. So, he can teach grappling. It's just the training methodology is a bit different. It's a lot more forms, a lot more kata, and then you do randori and sparring separately.
Yeah, I did it as well. The Japanese, there's a thing called TJF. Have you heard of it? The Jitsu Foundation in England. I don't know if you ever cross-trained.
I bet you there's some overlap. Probably.
Yeah. That was my first. And there's some fucking really sick traditional jiu-jitsu coaches. Absolutely. My one in particular was absolutely bullshido though. Like it was great for like the nerd side, that autistic obsession with like the names of the throws and just samurai culture and all this shit. But in terms of practical application, it's the dumbest thing.
Well,
so bad.
Did he have a lot of fights?
Bro, did he?
That's how you can tell,
Yeah. Well, this thing that you're right, you're completely right. I agree with you. This foundation I did, bro, it's like it was nationally. It's a foundation across the whole of England. Like every university in England has the Jitsu foundation. You can train there, but I was cross training in box. I was boxing at the time, and this is my cross training. I was like 16, 17, 15, and I was like thinking I want to be a black belt in throwing. So I didn't really understand that judo was the fucking truth. I should have been doing judo the whole time. But you would go to these gradings and you'd have to do like gauntlets where you'd stand there. I'm sure you've done this, where you stand there and you get like 10 people lining up and they'll each attack you and you like have to block and throw or do like a lock or something. And that's how you get your grade. But none of these kids actually understood violence. None of them had been in fights. None of them had done contact. They had just done like theoretical stuff in their jitsu class and bring it to a grading. I was boxing at the time. I think I'd had like my first fight recently, like one of those 2 fights. And I fucking this kid, this floppy little kid, they were literally grading wearing glasses, like spectacles. This is how bullshit it was. So he was standing there and he'd be like this. He'd be like, right, I'm going to hit you with an Ippon Seoinage. Everyone would be like, huh. And then they would like hold their arm out and fucking, the guy would like do the throw and everyone would clap. But I walked up to him, rolled into it, and bro, I hit him so hard. And he'd never ever experienced a punch in his life. So he's just there. He didn't even move his hands. He didn't know what I was doing. He'd never seen this. So he's just there. I got under. I'm like, well, if you're not going to move, fuck it. It's your grading. Oh, I hit him so cleanly. But this guy like fucking twin towered on himself. Just absolutely fault. I've never seen anyone drop like that before or since. Like just imploded on himself. There was about 500 people. It was a massive grading. There was maybe not 500, like 200 people, like a lot of people. The whole fucking thing, you just felt that like the whole just went
derailed. You attacked him wrong. Yeah. Well, they're not pressure testing. It's just kata. It's just forms. They're not sparring. They're not putting it to the test.
Did you get his belt at least?
That was a grading. No, that was a grading. He's supposed to get hit. And guess what? So everyone, I forget it in Japanese, you know, where you have to turn around. When someone gets hit, everyone turns around and faces the wall. So he got kited off. They brought in like a fucking ambulance and like he gets like taken out. But the coach came up to me and gave me like the fucking afterwards, like after we finished all the practice and we kind of debriefed a bit, he went fucking, he pat me on the back. It was like, great work. Like that kid should buy you a drink. Like you've taught him a great lesson. So it's true. It's absolutely true. Like that's real life. So learn it.
He owes you a beer now then.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You're better off getting hurt in a dojo than in real life. Definitely.
So yeah, special forces guy, you're recovering. He's bringing you out of the darkness, and now how do you get back out of England, right?
Yeah. So where the fuck's this? This was as like COVID and stuff was happening. So the thing is, as I was working with him, I was working with him and learning from him, downloading this new worldview from him, I was doing pretty good. Anything I do it well, right? So I became involved in the exchange of hard to obtain pharmaceuticals for fiscal reward. So I was doing that and doing it, like getting better and better. Yeah. And, ended up just kind of, that ran its course, and I had to leave that because you can't.
Clock's ticking. No one wins. Right. Yeah. That show is going to end eventually.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I got taken out of that, and this was during COVID times, right? So as the whole world was losing their shit about COVID, thing is though, when you're doing that life here and you're doing this shit, it's almost like a war itself. You become institutionalized. You have no identity. Like I didn't use my name for 3 years. Like I wasn't anyone. I had no social media. I just remember I was trying to die. Like the whole time I was just actively trying to cancel myself. But I had this competitive spirit. So I was like, well, fuck it. My whole plan at that time, I was so crazy and on drugs and just miserable. My plan was, I'm just going to go out via police or the enemy or something. Like, I'm going to just do something. Someone's going to have a gun or a taser or a knife or some shit, and I'm just going to fight them until the death, and I don't care. That's it. I'll just take bigger risk until the crazier thing happens. I don't give a fuck. This will be the closest thing to going out like a warrior that I can in my twisted head. I wanted to go to prison. I was like, I need to go to jail. I'm not safe on my own. I was absolutely inverted, like back to front. And so I was working with him, but then doing all this underground stuff. And it's like during COVID and shit, everyone was like losing their mind. But one, I'd already seen through it because obviously I've been around. I was like a kid during 9/11, and I had seen the whole world get psyoped overnight. So just to let you know, like again, I keep talking about perception. Your ability to perceive what's really going on in the world and just dynamics of sociology is the most important thing. At like 10 years or 8 years old, whenever 9/11 happened, I was fine. One day, the TV showed some pictures of a tower. I told everyone these people are the enemy. The next day, I'm suddenly getting fucked up. So even at that young age, I was like, clearly the world is very programmable. Like it's not as we've been told it is. Like we're getting dictated reality to. So when COVID came along and everyone's like waking up, I'm like, where have you been? Like this has been going on like this for the longest time. What the fuck? So the whole world's losing their shit, and I'm just laughing because I'm like, you guys are idiots. People are hitting me up being like, I've heard that like it's really hard to get like cannabis and like cocaine and things like that. These posh people that in my town, they were just losing their mind. Everyone was getting so scared from COVID. They were like, how much is it for like oh, I don't know. Like we might not be able to get anything for like 6 months. I've heard like it's going to be a year before we can go outside. And I was like, bro, let's go. I was like, yeah, for you, that's like £500 a gram, shit like this.
Everyone's like
So I just
stocking up on toilet paper, but in Brighton, they're like trying to get drugs. COVID, oh shit. Yeah.
That's it. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. People, I was the busiest I've ever been in my life. People were like, I'm these absolute crackheads. Like, we are fucked. They're like, we're never going to be able to get anything again. Oh my God, just give me everything. Me and like the few people that I'm working with are just fucking working out. Like, how do we like ration this? How do we make the most of it? But we're making like, it was a joke. Like, it was just stupid money. It didn't even make sense. So yeah, but then easy come, easy go. So that came to an end. But that's where I was during COVID. I was just like, I was the only one going out as well. Even all the drug dealers were scared. They were all scared of going outside. Like, the streets was
they really care about your health. Yeah.
People were getting in the car with a mask.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing. Like, people getting in the car with a mask with like gloves on, and they'd be like, okay, like how much for this thing? And then they would like try it, take a mask down and put this poison in their nose and then put the mask in.
Fuck.
You don't want to get, you're scared of germs, but
coke
that's some good shit. Yeah.
Bashed up cocaine that's like 10% pure and just mixed with everything.
Oh my God. That really speaks to just the mental illness of that whole time.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy, right? So, yeah, and I had, and this is kind of why I had to turn it around, because I had some divine interventions at that time. This one time, I drove out, and I was the only one on the road. And like I said, I just didn't care. And like, police were just, they had nothing to do, so they were just, anyone that was out, they'd just be on you straight away. One time, I had a lot of something in my car, and the policeman just pulled me over, and they were like, "What are you doing? You shouldn't be out," type thing. And I was just like, "Fuck you, I don't care." And I didn't say that, but like they I could see in the corner of my eye down in the footwell, because you get very arrogant in that life. You get confirmation bias. It's a lot like trading, right? It's why people lose all their shit. Anyone who's on the outside of this and they think, well, if you're up like $1 million, like, why would you lose it all? Because you think you become God. You think you become untouchable. And this is why it's called a trap, like trapping. Like, you can't help but think that it's impossible to leave it. Like, it just is. So you start off not taking risk and like, I'm going to be different. I'm not going to get caught. And then you start doing shit like I was doing, where you're just driving around and not even covering the thing up. It's just in full view in the car. And like, this police like kind of looked at it, and they looked at me and they were like, "What the fuck?" Like, they were like, "Can you get out?" And this is why I now owe it. This is why I'm working so hard to do the right thing in the world today. This kind of thing happened multiple times. I was about to get searched. I was like, all right, well, this is now over. This is the death that I've been looking for. I'm going to fuck this. I literally had a plan in my head. I was like, I'm going to single leg this policeman. I'm going to just fucking elbow him in the face until he like passes out. I had all these crazy thoughts. I'm going to bite him in all the shit my teacher showed me. Like, I knew like all this stuff that I was just going to maul someone. And I really wanted to do it. I was just vicious. And him and his partner, they both got out. Something went off on their radio that must have superseded their need to search me, because they looked at each other like that. They went, fuck, and they ran in their car and drove off. I don't know what the code was, but someone had radioed them saying, "We need all units in this area now. Like, come, whatever you're doing." They just drove off, and I'm sat there like, I'm untouchable. I'm fucking untouchable. That guy's lucky he didn't get me. I would have killed him. Like, I had this psychotic, demonic fucking programming going on where I was like, I'm being taught by this guy how to kill people. No one can touch me. Like, God's looking out for me. And it was whilst I was doing this bad shit. So that's why I ended up getting taken out like I did, because it had to happen. Do you know what I mean? If I didn't get taken out, I don't know what would have happened. So that was during the COVID time. And then the turnaround from that was, ended up meeting some very bad people that just took everything. They just took everything. And that's when my health, like, because I had the money to like cover up. And this is why, by the way, it's not good to outsource happiness and peace and fulfillment onto external shit. If you're not happy and balanced inside, getting fulfillment from outside stuff is never going to cover it. And you'll hear this from me as a guy that made it in like Coke and Bitcoin. You'll hear it from guys that have done it in business. You'll hear it in world champions. Look at Mike Tyson, did it through boxing. You can do it through anything. If you're not happy inside, it doesn't matter what the thing is that you've achieved. It just doesn't. So I got that all taken from me. And then I was faced in the reality, which was I had to just take responsibility and go, oh, guess what? You've lost everything. Congratulations. You've literally lost everything. Name things in your life. And I lost everything. I was living with my mom, absolutely fucked up. No health, no money, in debt. Girl left me. I lost my house. I was at 28 years old, just living with my mom. And then I remember just thinking, right, this is all on me. I'm very grateful. And I had to say it. I said out loud, I said, thank you so much for only taking money. That was it. And like, now I get to start again. Now I'm going to do this properly. I had a call with the plug, like the guy that used to sell me my shit. And he was like, I like you. You're professional. You do a good job. I'm going to help you get back on your feet. I was like, no, I'm never doing this again. Thanks a lot. And then just threw the phone away. And so fucking, that's how it all really started. So I had my teacher, my mentor, like give me the programming to be a strong man. I then had this blessing to get robbed from everything. And then I had this second option that I've got now. And that was a principle my teacher taught me, by the way, in fighting, was like, you always get two chances. Always give everyone two chances. Like the first time, assess it. Second time, if it fucks up again, that's all on you. You know, the whole fool me once, shame on you, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It was the same thing, like 1-2 in boxing. So I had my 1-2, like this was now my second chance. And this is why now I'm working on what I'm doing. Yeah.
So what is it that you're doing now specifically?
So I'm coaching martial arts online and health. So anyone that wants to just become unfuckable physically, mentally, spiritually, using the lessons that I've learned, technically, nutritionally, strength and conditioning wise, compete, all of these things, that's what we're giving people. So it's very much like, you know, the bicep sigil, it's that, but just dialed in, like really dialed into that.
And your home base,
So,
you're in Bangkok?
right now in Thailand, yeah, because the way that this started was kind of crazy. There was I had nothing. Like I literally had nothing. I just had my mum like fucking like just feeding me, like just being like here. I just had to get through hour by hour of the day because I had my testosterone was gone, my adrenals were fucked, my cortisol, my nervous system, everything was absolutely fried. I was like in hospital a lot of the time after this like robbery happened, and then I was just dead out. And the years of drug addiction, my body again just imploded. And so all that happened is that I met someone who I saw in a text group. Someone wanted to learn fighting. Some business guy was like, "I want to get a fight. Can someone help me?" And I just reached out to them. I was like, "Try X, Y, and Z." And they were like, "This is really good advice." They were like, "I've never heard anyone break boxing down like this. What, like, how do you know so much?" And I remembered in my head, I was like, "Oh yeah, I actually used to do this a lot." It'd been like 5 years, and I just deliberately forgot about it. I was like, I know a fucking lot about fighting, and I organized this guy. He said, "Can you come teach me?" So I went and teached him, and he was like, "Do you just want to stay with me? Like, just come stay with me, get a fight. You don't have to pay rent. Turn me into a boxer," and I did. And that's when I started realizing, no, I actually have a ticket here. I have a way out of this bullshit. But I was going to like support groups and shit about like men's mental health and like all this shit. And it was just suicidal guys that had been divorce raped, like just crying in a drum circle, being like, "Oh, today I didn't take heroin." Everyone's like, "Well done, James. Like, try it again tomorrow." Just fucking lose a shit. So I was like, "Fuck this. Like, let's get out of here." And that's how I ended up in Thailand. He was like, "I know some guys in Thailand. They know how to they all want to learn boxing and shit. You should link up with them." So just kind of step by step, just dug my way out and just been teaching fighting. And over the past like kind of 18 months, I suppose, 12 to 18 months, I've like really dialed in all these experiences that I've got, like, because I realized most people don't want to be pro fighters, right? I've always, they be pro fighters. Most people just want to feel cool. They just want to be healthy, want to feel strong, want to just stand strong. And so I understand how to do that via martial arts and health. So that's what I've been teaching, scaling it online right now.
It really shows, man. I can see the results of some of your students. And like I said, some guys I really respect, really excellent martial artists, have actually trained with you and spoken really highly of your instruction. And so, like, over the last year and a half, you're saying is where you've really dialed in your system?
Not even that, but probably like 8 months, really, because I had fucking kidney failure halfway through this. I had to take 4 months out where I just got a random kidney failure. So I came to Thailand. This is just how crazy the challenges have been. I came to Thailand. I had a couple months. I was working with a few guys out here. We started getting some momentum. We were doing group classes, things. I was like, okay, cool. I can breathe. Like, I paid off my debt. I was like 10 grand in debt. I paid that off. I was like, all right, look, things are going okay. Like, we've got some positive new breath into life. And then overnight, on the same day that one of my guys was fighting, we set up our first fight out here in Thailand. That morning of his fight, I had to go, was pissing blood, went to A&E. They were like, "Yo, your kidney's about to fucking burst. Like, you need surgery right now." I was like, "Give me the strongest morphine you've got. Let me go take care of this fight." And then the next day I had a couple of days after I had surgery. So it was, I was out for 2 months with that, managed to fucking survive that. And then this was in like April 2023 just gone. So since April till now, it's started popping off. Like, I've really dialed in what I'm doing. I've got this system in place. anyone who wants their first fight, anyone who wants to win, they have to come to me because I've done it so much now over this. I worked really hard over this past year. And like you say, the results are there. So I'm the guy for that.
Beautiful, man. That's an incredible story. There's a lot of similarities. We can talk privately too. This is about you.
I'd love to.
But there's a lot of stuff that you said that really resonates with me, and you really remind me of somebody that I grew up with who was just a lot of similar stories that you said. Who had that almost like death wish. Was real charismatic and really intelligent and really clever and really talented, but had that death wish, wanted that self-destruction because, didn't achieve these perceived goals at a really young age and couldn't then transition to that next step of manhood, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm not going to be a rock star or, the world champion fighter. It didn't work out for whatever reason. Not that it couldn't, but it just, that wasn't what was written for you.
And the next thing's so much better though. It's so much better.
It's like, that's only chapter 5, Yeah. You're 30 years old, man. You're just getting started.
Honestly, because I see that in you as well. You can see it in people's vibrational state and the way they carry themselves. Like, to go through them failures and come back and alchemize it into strength. It's like, what that does to you is it's the magnetism you develop, the fucking robustness. You just become this bastion. Way more than just if you had been gratified early on, you got that lucky break, you made it to the NBA or whatever on like fucking some famous rocker or some shit. Like, that's why do all those guys end up being divorced, getting their money taken, like on drugs? Like, they end up because they had it too early on. It's not to say all of them, but all I'm saying to anyone that can relate to what Steve just said and Steven just said, where if you didn't make it, it's like, oh well, now is a death wish. It's like it's up to you whether that becomes the best possible thing that could happen. And it sounds cliche, and if you're going through it and you don't actually understand what I'm saying, you think, oh, fuck off, it's not that easy. No, it's not easy, but it is true. It really is. To be able to turn the worst into the best, it just, and the worst situation you're in as well, and the worse you feel, there's an analogy, by the way, that I'll summarize this whole story up with, which I love, which is the bow and arrow one. Have you heard of that? How the further back the arrow is pulled, the more tension. The further from the target, when you do release that tension, the more powerful it shoots and the further it goes.
I think that is a beautiful note to end this discussion on. That is perfect, man.
Sam, it was awesome meeting you. Shout out your Instagram. How can people reach you?
Yeah, at Don _SAMRAZ, Don Sam Raz. I've got a Telegram group called Don Dojo. Well, I give some ridiculous martial art alpha, bruv. You're not going to see this anywhere. This is like the martial art version of being in fucking a shitcoin group with the developers before they launch shit.
Pump.
You want to learn to fight, you got to be in my Telegram, I'm telling you. So those are the two places.
Awesome. Well, I'll be joining that Telegram for sure.
For sure. And we'll have to get out to Thailand and train with you sometime, man. And you're always welcome to the Bay. Come to the compound. We're training every day. So we'd love to share knowledge.
Really, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, it was a real honor. Thank you so much, brother.
Good contact. See you later.